Over the course of the semester, I've slowly been making my way through HBO's hit series The Sopranos. I just finished the first season, but before I start the second one, there's an episode of this show I've been dying to talk about: college. Before we take a look at this episode though, I should tell you that I have no knowledge of this show outside the first 13 episodes. I don't want to get anything spoiled, so I've made a point not to look the show up on Google. I don't even know what the fanbase thinks of season 1, let alone this episode. So if college winds up having a larger impact on the overall story down the road, I apologize for not discussing that here in this video. But anyways, let's talk about The Sopranos. Spoilers from here on out, by the way. This particular episode finds Tony driving Meadow to a few colleges up in Maine that she's considering enrolling at. Tony, of course, does not want his daughter to join the family business. Like most parents, he wants his daughter to have a better life than the one he finds himself in. Think about it. Why on earth would Tony want his daughter to be involved in a business so stressful that's forced him to see a psychiatrist, something his people frown upon? So, despite all the drama going down in the Mafia at the moment, Tony is more than happy to drop everything to be there for Meadow, to push her away from the lifestyle he's—
Are you in the Mafia?
The fuck you say to me?
Just like that, the intelligence Tony cultivated in his daughter for years comes back to bite him. The point was for her not to have to worry about organized crime, but given its relation to her father, that's all Meadow cares about. The mere fact that she would ask such a question makes it obvious that Meadow is fully aware of the life her father leads. So we can immediately tell that all Meadow wants of this conversation is her father's honesty. At first, Tony, taken aback by the sudden interrogation of his character, denies it, going as far to say that she's perpetuating a stereotype about waste management workers. But then she gives him the look, and he's just like,
Oh no, not the puppy dog pout!
So he levels with her, in the least incriminating way possible, of course.
Some of my money comes from illegal gambling and whatnot. How does that make you feel?
With this knowledge, Meadow admits that at times she wishes she had a normal dad. However, Tony's honesty here makes it clear to Meadow that he loves and respects her, and at the end of the day, that's all she wants. She gives him credit for his honesty and shoots him a loving smile. What a great father-daughter moment, right? Thank goodness Tony doesn't double back.
Look, man, part of my income comes from legitimate businesses.
So much for that. As you probably know, Tony is a man living two lives. The first is his family life, in which he is dishonest at almost every turn. Not only does he lie to his family about the simplest of things, even about the freaking gender of his psychiatrist, but he also cheats on his wife, Carmela. Then there's his criminal life. The Mafia, despite being the source of Tony's dishonesty, is the only place where he feels he can actually be honest with others. And clearly, these two lives are beginning to clash. Soon after his chat with Meadow, Tony pulls over to get gas, perhaps hoping to put this conversation behind him. While there, he spots a familiar face, that of Fabian Petrulio, a former member of the Mafia who turned state's evidence. In other words, Tony spots a man known for his honesty, and Tony resolves to kill him. With Meadow in the car, however, he can't bring himself to chase the man down. He does, however, get Petrulio's license number, which he hands off to Christopher to have it run. While waiting to hear back from Christopher, Tony has dinner with Meadow. Still desiring to have a close relationship with her dad, Meadow decides to extend the olive branch of honesty herself by admitting to a sin from her recent past.
A couple of weeks ago, me and some friends, we were doing speed. We did kind of a lot of it for a while.
You what?
Naturally, Tony's pretty upset, but after his initial anger subsides, he comes to appreciate the fact that his daughter was honest with him about something she so easily could have continued to hide. Honesty, therefore, has allowed Tony to grow closer to his daughter than he's ever been, but it's also honesty in the form of Petrulio that pulls him away from her. Upon receiving Petrulio's address from Christopher, Tony stakes the place out, but the presence of the man's wife, child, and a neighbor's dog prevents him from carrying out his plan. Then Petrulio, beginning to fear that he's been found out, begins hunting the assailants he thinks have been sent to kill him. This leads Petrulio to the Sopranos' motel room, where he sees Tony leading a drunk Meadow back to her room. Just as it was for Tony, though, the presence of bystanders keeps Petrulio from taking the shot. Let's step away from Tony's story for a minute and talk about Catholicism. Catholics believe that morality revolves around God's 10 commandments, 2 of which are relevant to this episode. As you might have guessed, the first relevant commandment is the 8th commandment, thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Basically, thou shalt not lie. The second one, which we'll get to in a second, is the 6th commandment, thou shalt not commit adultery. Unfortunately, Catholics have a tendency to not actually practice what they preach. To be fair, they're only human, but even so, this hypocrisy has become a major problem within the church. This flaw is embodied in the character of Father Phil, who pays Carmela a visit while her husband is away. Father Phil has a tendency to befriend married women distant from their husbands who look to him for both spiritual guidance and genuine friendship. Instead of giving them what they need, though, Father Phil takes advantage of them in order to feel the thrill of sexual tension. Due to a thunderstorm, Father Phil winds up having to spend the night at the Soprano household, and over the course of the evening, he and Carmela teeter closer and closer to having sex. But just before they begin to take that step, Father Phil stops himself, preventing the two from becoming anything more than just friends. So the next day arrives, and as Father Phil leaves the household, Tony and Meadow head to the second college on their list. To Meadow's surprise, Tony does not accompany her. Instead, he drops her off and drives away, claiming he forgot his watch at the motel. Despite how badly Meadow wants her father to be honest with her, he cannot bring himself to change. And fittingly, to re-embrace his dishonest nature, he kills the honest man. So when Meadow sees dirt on his boots and blood on his hands, she immediately realizes that Tony went to see the man from the gas station, and knows her dad is lying to her when he says otherwise. Even so, though, she truly loves her father, so she decides to give him another chance to be honest. And he throws it away.
Dad, you're being honest with me, right?
Pretty soon here, you're gonna start hurting my feelings.
We have that kind of relationship, you said.
That's right. We do or we don't. Takes 2 to tango.
Dad.
What?
Nothing.
That look on Meadow's face says it all, and it genuinely broke my heart when I first watched this episode. But still, fate gives Tony another chance to learn his lesson. At the third college, while Meadow is being interviewed, Tony sits quietly in the hallway and ponders the meaning of a sign. It reads, "No man can wear one face to himself and another to the multitude without finally getting bewildered as to which may be true." So Tony and Meadow then return home, and Carmela, in an attempt to be honest with her husband, tells him that Father Phil spent the night, but stresses that nothing happened between them. Tony, of course, doesn't believe her. He thinks everyone should believe his word, but refuses to believe anyone else's. He expects everyone to take his word as the gospel truth, despite not valuing it at all himself. And that's when Carmela calls him out for the simplest of his lies.
Oh, by the way, your therapist called. Jennifer?
And just like that, the tables are turned, and the episode ends with Tony on the receiving end of his own deception. Tony refused to grow, and as a result, his relationships with both his daughter and his wife will never be the same. Because at the end of the day, dishonesty is a double-edged sword, and it always comes back to cut the two-faced.